Hello and welcome to a special Christmas edition of Oasys Top Tips. Did you know that you can offset the keyword IDs and reposition the contents of include files in Oasys PRIMER using the include transform pane? Today I'm going to show you how you can use the include transform functionality in Oasys PRIMER in order to position different includes in your model. As you can see, I've got a Christmas model open here. It's just a 2D model with shells. And then down the bottom here, I've also got a bauble model. So if I press down, we can see the bauble here. I actually just made that using the mesh tool and then going shapes and the sphere here. And there's a webinar on looking at the meshing tools if you'd like to find that. But for now, I'll just bring back both models, doing shift up and position them. And then I'm going to just delete this bauble model so that we don't get confused. And we're just working with the one model. Okay, so we've got a tree model here, and if I go to tools and then include, we can see that that model is actually a master model and then the include of just the elements and nodes for the Christmas tree. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can add baubles into the model and using the include transform. So to start with, I'm going to just create a new include, add new child, and this is just going to be a normal include, and I'll call it baubles, and then just 01 or something like that, and add that. It's an empty include, but I'm happy with that. And now I've got that, I need to make sure it's active, so it should be by default, but I'll click make current layer. And then I can go on to add new child, and then include transform. And here what happens is I get a window that appears and allows me to select an include file. So I'm just going to find a baubles file. So I made that bauble, it's 50mm diameter. And then I have various options to offset things like the nodes, elements, the parts, the materials, all of the IDs, the set IDs. Here, this is functions, tables, and curves. This is define, any define cards, and this is basically everything else. You can look in the manual to just check these if you're not sure. There's also an option to add a prefix or suffix to the titles and things of your includes. I'm not going to use that in this case, but the main thing I'm interested in is this transform ID. So this allows you to essentially link up a defined transform to the include, and it will essentially reposition it based on the definition you put in here. So if you've not used a defined transform before, basically you need to insert as many rows as you want, but at least one row to describe a transform. By default, it gives you a translation, so X, Y, Z offsets, and this is relative to the include model. Now my bauble was at 0, 0, 0, so if I pick two nodes and 0, 0, 0 is about down here, it doesn't really matter in this case being too precise. I'll select that, and then I'm going to put my bauble somewhere, so maybe on this branch here. Then I click create, and then if I was to click create now, it would tell me that there's a clash, and this is because the shell IDs of the bauble include and the node IDs are matching or overlapping with those of the Christmas tree. So I'll just quit that, and I need to give it an offset. So in this case, I'm going to use this box here to offset everything by the same amount. And I think I'll try something like 100,000 to start with, and click create. Oh, I forgot to press set all offsets, then click create, and we see our bauble appears here. Okay, I can now add another bauble, and I want to make sure it's on this baubles include, and I'm just going to add a new child, include transform, and then I'll give it another offset. I'll make it 110,000 this time, press set all offsets, and then I'll create. And here I'm just going to insert. And the last time the bauble was a bit small, so what I can do is I can add a scale option in first, so change that to scale, and then I'm going to make it a bit bigger, so let's say 1.5 in all of the dimensions, X, Y, and Z. Now it's important to put the scale first before you do other things, just so that you know what's happening, because the order of these is important when you create a transform. So first it's going to scale the model, the include, by 1.5 in all directions, and then I'm going to give it a translation. So this time I'm just going to pick two nodes. I'll just pick one down here and maybe something up here. And now I can create that and select the bauble 50 mil and create that, and now I've got a bigger bauble up here. Okay, so now I've made a couple of baubles. What if I wanted to reflect them and put them over this side? That's not too hard to do because what I've done is I've put them in a child include file. I made sure that the transforms were defined in this file because it was active. So first I'll write this include out, just call it baubles1. And now I can add another child on the master or the top parent and include transform. And this time I'm going to select that baubles01 and I'm going to define an offset. So if I give this an offset of, let's say, 200,000 and set all of those, and then give it a transform ID, I'll create that. And this time I'm going to use a rotation. So here I need to first define a vector. So 0, 0, 1, I'll put a 1 in there, and that means it's a up vector or z vector. Then I want it to rotate about the middle of the tree, so that's fine, 0, 0, 0. And the angle, this time I'm just going to put 180 degrees. And that should basically flip around the other side when I press create here. So now we see we've got those on the other side. So that was pretty simple to do. And the main thing just to watch there then is that the defined transforms need to be in the same include file as the include transform. Otherwise it can get confused about what transforms you're referring to. Okay, and while I'm here, I'm just going to show you a couple of nice features. So if I press the down arrow here and go to the transform, I can suspend a transform. And so you see how that bauble has now dropped down here. And that's because it's suspended the translation, and there was also a rotation here, but the rotation doesn't really do anything because it's about the 0 point. I click on it again and I can go reinstate, and that brings the bauble back to there. Okay, now I'm just going to just close out of this quickly and go define transform. I'm going to make a few more transforms. So I'm going to create transforms and I'm going to copy in that last transform for the rotation one, and I'm going to make one that is going to be 45 degrees. Let's call it 45 deg here, and then again another one that's going to be 90 degrees, one that's going to be 135 degrees, and then I've already got the 180 degrees. I'll just rename that one to be 180 degrees. That just makes it easier to then see, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to include some baubles that I've set up earlier, and also the Christmas tree. I'm going to rotate that around. So I'm just going to come to includes, and I'm going to first start with the Christmas tree. So I'm going to add a new child, include transform, and this is going to be the tree elements and nodes. And because of the fact that I want it to all stay in the same part, I'm only just going to offset the nodes and elements. So this time I'm going to just give it an offset of, let's say, 1,000,000, so I'm fully out of the range. And I'm going to leave everything else the same. And then I'm going to select one. So the first one I'll go is 45 degrees. I'm going to create that. And now we can see we've got a Christmas tree at 45. And I'm then going to add a new child, include transform, and basically do what I did before. So this time I'll copy in that transform there and then change that to 2,000,000. And I'm going to select the 90-degree one, pick the tree again. Ooh, I blanked it, and then create. Now we've got the next angle, and I've got one more to go. So add new child, include transform, and I'll just write it in here, 3,000,000. And then it was actually transform 6 is the next one I remembered. So pop that tree in here. So now we've got our tree, and then let's bring some baubles in. So I've actually made a baubles include already, which I'll use this time. So add new include transform, and then this time I'm going to pick the baubles here, the baubles 2 key, and the transform is going to first be the 45-degree one, so 4, and we'll give it an offset, and this time the offset is going to be 400,000. Okay, so we're clashing with some stuff here, and I forgot to click that button there. Okay, we've added some more baubles, looking much more like a tree now. Let's do that a few more times. So 500,000 this time. And it's number 5, not 50, it's 5. Okay, that's clashing. So I'm just going to pick a big number, let's say 10 million. We've added those last baubles. And then finally add last include transform. Add some more baubles. Let's go for 20 million. And this time we're going to pop it on 135-degree 1. Okay, so there we have it. I could also put more on the back, and I could have put all of those in include and then translated them around. But as you see, the more you get, the more you need to be careful that you're clashing. So this is quite a complex case where we've got lots of includes with their own transforms, etc. But I hope this has been a really useful and fun little example to show you how you can use the include transform functionality within Oasys Primer. And I hope you all have a very happy Christmas and a happy New Year, and I'll see you in 2023 for the next Oasys Top Tips.